Good afternoon, manufacturing all-stars, and welcome to this episode of Manufacturing Happy Hour. Today, you are going to learn about 3 considerations to take into account when embarking on your IT/OT convergence journey. I'm joined by Kamil Karmali from our Global Services Organization. Cheers, Kamil.
Cheers, Chris. Good
Welcome to the show. Great having you on.
Thanks, man.
And I feel like it's been a long time coming before you've come on the show. So I'm happy to have you here, and you're the perfect person to talk about some of these considerations that we mentioned. So, the first one that comes to mind is, building the right infrastructure. What are your tips and tricks around that?
Step 1, build the correct right network infrastructure. So oftentimes the OT network becomes a daunting task for people.
For sure.
And this is typically split up into 2 dimensions. One is the logical sense of the network. So how is it designed? Where do things sit? How do I need to plan for expansion? What does my current network look like today versus planning for what it needs to look like tomorrow? So that's really the logical aspect of that design and deployment activity. The second aspect of building the right network infrastructure is the physical infrastructure. So this is taking a look at a plant or an enterprise and understanding how those devices are all connected physically,
right?
Where they sit in the plant floor, and ultimately what that needs to look like in a future state. So combining those 2 activities in a pretty disciplined approach around design, implementation, and some consultative efforts to do that. If you don't feel you have that capability, are ways that we can help.
Yeah, and anything, once you get that infrastructure in place or have that plan around your infrastructure strategy, the other next topic we were going to cover is network security. And that's a big topic one way or another, but how does that play into an IT/OT convergence strategy?
Yeah, so great question. Security can be a very challenging topic based on a couple of different factors. So the first step that we always recommend after designing and implementing a safe, secure infrastructure is to take a look at segmentation. So we call this the deployment of a demilitarized zone, or rather an IDMZ, an industrial demilitarized zone. The whole objective around that is to create safe, secure segmentation between the information technology, so the enterprise space, and the operational technology, which is the manufacturing environment of the network itself. Implementing and designing a DMZ really focuses on ensuring that you have the right policies in place, the right procedures, and the right type of device level hardware, such as firewalls and servers and other things, so that you can monitor and track and set up policies around what information transverses between the 2. So safe, secure segmentation is kind of a critical element to building a robust network infrastructure. The second, I would say, is cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Understanding where you're at on the overall attack continuum. So what do I do before a threat has happened? So potentially putting some services or plans in place around policies and procedures there. Unless there's a need to take a look at real-time threat detection in terms of what is happening in the moment an attack actually happens, or the end of the cyber continuum, which is ultimately how do I respond and recover? What am I doing in terms of backup? What am I doing to manage enterprise risk? Who am I contacting? And what are the critical steps that I take immediately after an incident? So.
Well, I love the breakdown of the cyber attack continuum that you have. We've talked about that on the show before, but the last topic we want to cover in terms of a third consideration around IT/OT convergence is one that people might not be expecting as much, and that's remote managed OT services. Sure. How does that play in?
The workforce skills gap in manufacturing doesn't just necessarily apply to our traditional businesses around automation, control, and software. It's even more relevant in the OT space, where customers are finding that it's very difficult to have people with a very specific domain expertise or skill set around that. So after building a network infrastructure, making it safe and secure to enable things such as remote access, one of the things now is to take that to another level, which is to manage that remotely. So the capability to do real-time diagnostics around assets, around devices on the plant floor, or all of it together, coupled with monitoring the actual network infrastructure, so that a manufacturer could potentially even offer service level agreements to how quickly we would respond to those things to keep the network up and running, just like we would be taking a look at a plant up and running. So we've scaled our consulting practice, we've scaled our overall delivery capabilities globally in order to respond to that 24/7.
Awesome. Well, I've got 2 ways for you guys to dive into this topic a little bit more after this video. First, I'll have a link to our services page where you can, if you want to see what else we're doing, you can explore that further. The biggest thing I'd recommend, though, is we've actually talked about IT/OT convergence on this show before. Rockwell CIO Chris Nardecchia was on the show probably about half a year ago, and he gave some real-time or real-life examples of what a successful IT/OT convergence strategy or project looks like. So if you want to get more in depth, we've got a long video on that. In the meantime, Kamil, thanks so much for the tips today. It was great having you on.
Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Cheers. And for those of you out there, stay innovative, stay thirsty, and we'll catch you again on Manufacturing Happy Hour real soon. See ya.